Hi again, everybody. I'm actually recording this just after the last one, so I'm not having to wait for the next chapter. Hopefully you guys have just got yourself even more excited by having to wait for it. So here we go with chapter 4. So chapter 4 is called Lucy Wasn't Alone. So we ended the last chapter after Lucy helping everybody out all day with me. We found out that there was something else in her room. Lucy doesn't know that yet. Lucy's eyelids were feeling heavy. She was exhausted after her busy day of helping the kids of Whiffington adjust to life with no grown-ups. However, even though she felt more tired than she'd ever been, for some reason she couldn't sleep. Have you ever had that where you've been really tired but you just couldn't sleep? It's very annoying. She lay on her bed and started to imagine she was sinking peacefully into the mattress, as if it was a fluffy cloud. She closed her eyes, and for a moment she could see her mum perched on the edge of the bed, where she normally sat each night. She'd slip off the hairband holding back her hair, letting her long brown curls fall down past her shoulders, as she sipped on their nightly shared mug of cocoa before handing it to Lucy. "Close your eyes, my little Lucy Pops," Mrs. Dunstan would say, her brown eyes twinkling. "Feel yourself floating on the fluffiest cloud, light as a feather." "But Mum, I'm too awake to go to sleep. It's impossible," Lucy would answer. "Impossible isn't real, Lucy Pops. It's just in your mind." Lucy felt the corners of her mouth rise into a little smile at her mum's nickname for her, Lucy Pops. Her dad used to call her this too, before he left. Suddenly, the fluffy cloud she was floating on in her mind dissolved, and she was just lying on her cold mattress in her empty room, in her empty house, alone. Impossible certainly felt very real. She quickly closed her eyes again in an attempt to get back into that cosy cloud. She tried to imagine her body sinking into it. It was her favourite thing to imagine, but on the night of the day it all began, Lucy's mind just couldn't imagine things right. Her comfy cloud was not as comfy without her mum there. "Where are you, Mum?" Lucy thought as she rolled onto her side, looking at the full moon through the gap in the curtains as it watched over Whiffington town. Was her mum out there somewhere? Lucy tried to shake the worry out of her head. She rolled this way and that, and then this way and that. But neither way was working, so she settled on her back, staring up at the ceiling. Her heart sank as the little glow-in-the-dark stars, planets, looked down at her. Her dad had once arranged them into a giant smiley face on the ceiling. Lucy realised that they were reminders of her parents dotted all over the room. Out of the corner of her eye she could see the certificate presented by her dad on the day she broke the family jelly baby eating record, gulping down 27 in 30 seconds, even the green ones. She turned away from the wall, but this put her face to face with the bookcase, which was overflowing with all the stories her mum had read with her. And there's Lucy's room there. She's all tucked up in bed, staring around her room. Can you spot the smiley face on the ceiling? Got lots of reminders on there, I bet. The absence of her mum made it very quiet in her house. Unusually quiet. So quiet, in fact, that the silence was almost loud. Lucy tried humming a little song to herself, a lullaby. But it didn't help. It just reminded her of her dad. "Time for a song, Lucy Pops," she pictured him saying as he reached into his pocket for his most prized possession, his silver harmonica. "Any requests?" he always asked. But Lucy knew he was teasing because he always played the same song. It was one he'd written himself, and it was called Lucy's Lullaby. He played it to her every night until he disappeared. Lucy sighed. She got out of bed and walked over to her wardrobe. But just as she was about to open the door, she heard a tiny noise. sounded like the creak of her floorboards. Lucy suddenly felt a little chill, a shiver running down her back, like someone was watching her, which you already know was true, but Lucy didn't yet. "Hello?" she called. She looked over her shoulder. There was no one there. "Don't be such a silly sausage, Lucy," she whispered firmly to herself. "You're just getting the chills because you're alone. Now pull yourself together." With that, she opened her wardrobe and lifted a wooden panel on the floor which revealed a secret hiding place. This is where she kept special things that she didn't want anybody else to find. There wasn't much in it. A pretty shell she had found on the beach once, a smashed up conker that got her to second place in the playground conker championships, and a framed photograph. She picked it up and stared at it. 3 people had smiled up at her from the picture. A young Lucy with her arms wrapped around her mother's neck as she kissed Lucy on the head, and behind them both cradling the 2 most precious things in his life, in his arms, Lucy's dad. Lucy's heart ached every time she looked at this photo, at how happy the 3 of them were. She always made an extra effort to study her dad's face, as if she was afraid that somehow she might forget him. She held the photo close so that she could see every detail. She saw his eyes, which were deep twinkling blue. His nose, which was just a little bit big, just like hers. His mouth, which looked like it might break into a smile and make the dimple in his cheek appear at any moment. She smiled to herself and hugged the photo to her chest. There was one more thing hidden in Lucy's secret hiding place, folded neatly underneath the other treasures. It was a bright fluorescent green colour and was giving off an awful stench of stewed sprouts and fish scales. Lucy pulled out her dad's stinking work coat, the one he'd worn when he was driving the big Polly rubbish truck. She'd kept it hidden in here so that her mum wouldn't find it and throw it away, like the rest of her dad's stuff. Lucy slid her arms into the sleeves, put on the bright, smelly jacket. It was far too big and engulfed her like a stinky, fluorescent duvet. She sat down, her back against the wardrobe, and took a deep breath. The disgusting fumes filled her nostrils with comforting memories of her dad, and she suddenly felt a little bit better. She snuggled into the coat and made herself comfy on the floor. As she wriggled, something fell out of the pocket and clunked loudly on the floorboards. Something silver, shiny. Can you guess what it is? Her dad's harmonica. She picked it up smiling and played Lucy's lullaby as best she could. It wasn't as magical as when her dad played it, but it melted away some of her troubles, at least for the moment. When she finished, she held it tight in her hands and stared at the reflection on its shiny surface. She saw her face looking back at her. Then she tilted it slightly and saw the moon through the curtains. A little more and she saw the bedside table. Then her bed, and then the beady black eyes of the creature hiding under it. What? Lucy looked up from the harmonica and stared into the blackness of the shadowy gap beneath her bed. But the eyes had gone. Her heart was racing, no, sprinting in her chest, and she imagined it. Had there really been a pair of eyes looking up at her from underneath the bed? Lucy wanted to stand up, but she couldn't. She was frozen to a spot. Frozen with fear. She was completely on her own in her dark bedroom, in her quiet house, in the middle of the night, with a creature lurking underneath her bed. And things were about to get even weirder. Wow, what a cliffhanger to leave us on there. Well, hopefully that cliffhanger will mean you'll tune in with me tomorrow, ready for chapter 5, the first Creaker. That will be our first encounter with the Creakers. We'll find out a bit more about them next time. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye!